DPM, you talked about the fragility of global trade today, as well as the deep structural shifts that are happening in the world with global trade becoming more fragmented. More recently, we have seen important waterways and trade routes being weaponized in the Middle East. The question for you is for Singapore, how should we think about diplomacy and partnerships that are required to keep these trade routes open and secure? And furthermore, are the international frameworks in place sufficient for the trade and security challenges ahead, or do they need to evolve meaningfully?
Thank you. These are very big questions. Yeah. I'll need an hour to answer that. I'll try to keep it short. First, I think we have to recognize that the transit passage through the straits that are used for international navigation is very critical, and it is a right. And UNCLOS has specified that ships and aircraft that travels through these straits must have a right of transit passage. I think this is something that we have to recognize and have to preserve, and that's why we need to continue to uphold rules and regulations in this regard. And we will need to continue to also strengthen our partnership with the like-minded countries so that we can uphold this right. And beyond just the right of transit passage, we also need to uphold the rules-based trading system. And this has been under strain in recent years and recent months particularly, as you see tariffs being erected, trade restrictions being introduced, and non-tariff measures are also being erected by many countries to protect their own industry, to ensure their economic security. So there are many reasons for these to be erected, but what it means is that all these new measures will restrict and impede trade and will cause global economy to slow down and to weaken the connectivity between economies. And that is a very critical challenge that we are facing. Singapore, particularly being an open and small economy, we depend on trade for our economy to grow and develop. Trade is 3 times our GDP. And this is how important trade is for us. And we are also a maritime hub, and that's why we are here this morning. And the connectivity is very crucial, not just on shipping, on supply chain, but also on trade and a free flow of data, and also free flow of talent, ideas, investments, and capital. So I think this is very important for a hub economy like Singapore. And that's why in recent years, Singapore has been working very hard to bring together partners who are like-minded, who share the same view and the same commitment that we need to keep our rules-based trading system forward, and we keep pushing it forward, pushing the boundary and preserving what we have developed so far as a connected world. So I think this is something that we will continue to work on. I think recently we formed a Future of Investment and Trade partnership, FIT partnership, among 16 countries. We are all small and medium economies. We decided to come together to look for opportunities to be able to strengthen trade relationship with one another, despite geopolitical contestation among major powers. I think there will continue to be opportunities for us to work together, and we are very happy to be able to work on this partnership, and it's growing from strength to strength. We are slightly ahead of time. We actually have a focus on supply chain resilience as one of our first work group to work on. So I think we are on our way to strengthen our connectivity among us.
Yeah, but back on the question of, critical maritime routes. As you know, Singapore being, this is free flow of goods is very existential to us, as you said. And of course, the waters around us, meaning the Straits of Malacca and Singapore, being very critical. Can you comment on all the partnerships and diplomacy points and sort of areas of work that we're doing to ensure that the Straits of Malacca and Singapore remain open?
Thank you. I think Straits of Malacca and Singapore is another straits that is used for international navigation, and therefore the rights of transit passage similarly applies to the Straits of Malacca and Singapore. And in fact, not many people know that Straits of Malacca and Singapore is actually a lot busier than Straits of Hormuz. I'm not trivializing the challenges we face in Hormuz. I must qualify that. But it's important to also remember that actually about 1/3 of the global seaborne oil trade goes through Straits of Malacca and Singapore. And every year we have about 100,000 vessels that go through the Straits of Malacca and Singapore. So I think this strait is very important to us, and it is not only important to Singapore, but important to all the countries that are bordering the Straits, Malaysia, Indonesia, including Singapore. And also it connects the east from the west, so it's also important for the rest of the world. And I'm happy to say that all three countries that are surrounding the Straits have been working very closely together. We have a cooperative framework that allow us to work together to ensure the safe passage of vessels, the safety of the vessels, the safety of the seafarers, and also to work together to prevent the pollution that's maybe caused by the ships going through in the Straits. So this will ensure the continuing operation of the Straits smoothly. So I think this is something that's very important and something that we have worked over the years, working together to make sure that we maintain the Straits and on a shared responsibility.
Thank you. Thank you. One of the big structural shifts that you mentioned is countries prioritizing national security and strategic resilience over economic efficiency. We are seeing some sort of a re-industrialization of sorts with state-directed investment flowing into key sectors such as semiconductors, pharmaceuticals, energy, and even shipbuilding. How is Singapore navigating a world where rules are increasingly shaped by national security? And where are we making our most deliberate bets to remain competitive, whether in advanced manufacturing, AI, the green economy, etc.?
Well, this is a question that should be posed to my colleague, Minister Jeffrey Xiao, because he leads one of the important working group under our economic strategy review.
You chair that, right?
Which specifically addresses this question of how do we navigate our way forward in this very challenging landscape going forward. I think it's something that we have been discussing, deliberating, and I think that we have shared some of the findings of this review recently during our budget, but I think more details will be shared in time to come quite soon. The report is almost ready, and we'll release the details. But just to give a very quick comment on this issue, I think the world is changing very rapidly. We used to say that this is a changed world. In fact, this is a changing world, because it changes all the time. We thought it has changed, and it continued to change again. And sometimes it flip-flops within the same day, so you have to figure out what is happening. Every morning when we wake up, just like this morning before I came for this event, I have to check the news to make sure my speech is still valid. Because you never know, after you say something, someone will tell you, actually, this is no longer the case. Something has changed overnight. So we need to be very mindful. But these changes, these challenges also bring about opportunities. I think what is key is for us to be nimble, to be able to react very quickly, size up the situation, make an assessment, and move very quickly and adapt very quickly to the new environment. And that is why we set up this economic strategy review to help us to think a little bit longer term, not just about tomorrow, not just about next year, and not even just about next 10 years, but how do we reposition ourselves in this environment that is changing all the time? How can we make ourselves more nimble? How can we allow ourselves to be more flexible, to adapt more quickly? I think this is very important. And one key strategy that we must uphold is to first keep Singapore open. Open to trade, open to shipping, open to ideas, open to talent, open to data flow, open to capital. And that is one key strategy we must preserve. And the second one, which is also important, continue to invest in our people. And because our people is our most critical resource and the only resource that we have. So we must continue to invest in them, train them, upgrade them so that they're able to seize this opportunity when they come our way.
Yeah, thank you, DPM. You know, recently, maybe if you don't mind, adding a little bit more on the AI strategy for Singapore, because that was a big push during the budget that we're going to put quite a lot into AI. You know, what are we thinking of doing there?
Thank you very much. AI is a very core, one of the core strategies that we have adopted. and we have announced and shared during budget, and this is also part of the recommendation from the ESR. And one of our key strategy in AI is really to adopt a whole of nation approach and whole of government, whole of society approach. And that is why Prime Minister Lawrence Wong is now chairing the National AI Council, because we acknowledge that AI will span across multiple agencies, multiple ministries, and multiple domains. And it is important for us to look at AI in a coordinated way. And that's why it needs to have a national council to coordinate the efforts by every ministry, every agency, every department, and every stakeholders in the industry to also embark on the same journey, have the same vision, and share the same commitment to implement and introduce AI in our economy. And under the council, we have several initiatives. The first one is a champion of AI. We want to work with selective companies, those who are committed to embark on this AI transformation journey. We are prepared to work with them, hold their hands. We work in locksteps together. We implement AI in their companies, change their business model, that they become, use AI as the core of their business. So I think this is something that's quite exciting, but every change is painful, and therefore it's important for us to acknowledge the challenges, and we are prepared to partner you to go on this AI transformation journey. The second AI initiative is AI missions, and this covers 4 key areas. Connectivity is one, and the shipping industry is one of the key components in this connectivity, and that's why there are many initiatives that are related to AI that is being showcased outside. At the same time, beyond connectivity, we're also looking at finance industry. This is where our strength is. And healthcare industry, which we have critical need to make sure that AI is applied in our healthcare system to help us to improve our healthcare services. And fourth, which is also very core to our economy, and that's advanced manufacturing. This is something that we've been doing well, and we want to continue to do well by leveraging on AI. So these are the 4 key missions that we are embarking on. We hope that through this mission, we can attract more global talent on AI to Singapore and attract Singaporeans to have an interest in developing capability and specialty in AI. And lastly, in order to bring all these AI stakeholders into an ecosystem, build an ecosystem, not just individual silos of excellence, but bring them together to form a center of excellence for AI for the whole of Singapore, we have decided to also build an AI park to put together the entire community of AI practitioners, whether you are solution providers, whether you are problems looking for solutions, whether you are professionals working in AI companies. We want to bring you together so that there's synergy among the whole community of AI practitioners. So these are the 4 strategies that we're embarking on. First, with the National Council on AI, overseeing everything. Secondly, embark on the champions of AI, nurturing champions of AI. And thirdly, embark on AI mission. And fourth, build a park, AI park, to bring the community together as an ecosystem.
Thank you, DPM. I must thank the government for supporting the businesses in this journey, very, very important journey. And as a beneficiary, you know, I'm very, very grateful. And it is a painful journey. So, you know, continued support is very welcome. Next, I think, and this is going to be my final question before I throw it out to the floor. I think we can't sit here today and not talk about energy security. The recent developments in the Middle East have actually told us how vulnerable global energy flows are. And Singapore is a major energy trading and bunkering hub, sitting astride one of the world's busiest sea as well as air corridors. So as disruptions become more frequent, as well as more prolonged, how do we better integrate energy security considerations into our economic strategy, including in shipping, port infrastructure, fuel choices, etc.?
Thank you. Energy security has always been one of the concerns of Singapore because we don't produce our own energy. As you know, our electricity supplies are generated primarily using natural gas, and we don't have natural gas ourselves. We import our natural gas, some through the pipe natural gas from Malaysia, from Indonesia, and some through liquefied natural gas from afar. So we depend largely on natural gas. By the same time, we are also expanding our renewable energy source through solar. Unfortunately, solar requires land surface for the sunlight. And Singapore is an island. We have very limited land surface, and we're mostly built up already. So we're making use of our rooftops, making use of our car park tops, and even your gardens we are now covering with the solar. Even our reservoirs, we are also putting solar cells on our reservoirs. So we are maximizing our solar generation, but because of the land limitation, the contribution of solar energy to the overall energy needs is going to be somewhat limited. Beyond solar and our gas-fired power station, we are also looking at importation of electricity. We have been negotiating and discussing with our neighbors, Malaysia and Indonesia, and we hope to be able to make progress in importation of electricity, and that will supplement our energy needs and provide greater security. By the same time, we have also encouraged diversification. Bearing in mind that we do have a refinery industry in Singapore, and this refinery will produce many of the petroleum products that will be needed by our economy, whether it's gasoline, diesel, and so on. But they will also need crude, and we have also been working with our refineries to ensure that their supply of crude is also diversified. So diversification is one important strategy. So we have multiple fuel pathways for energy generation. But at the same time, we also have multiple sources of supplies for all these fuel. So I think we will continue to work on this, and we are also experimenting with newer forms of energy, which may not be ready for deployment. Things like hydrogen, ammonia, methanol, and some of it are experimental stage, and we hope to be able to push the boundary. And finally, we are also exploring nuclear as an option. I think we cannot close the option for now. I think we continue to explore, and we hope to be able to have a mature nuclear technology that is applicable to Singapore in time to come. We have to monitor, we have to watch the development, understand the technology, so that when the technology is available, we can assess whether they are suitable for deployment in Singapore. So I think that option has to be kept open so that we can continue to strengthen our energy security. But recently, you have also have read our collaboration with Australia and our agreement with New Zealand on the supply chain resilience, that Australia will send us natural gas and we'll send them the refined petroleum products. This is mutually beneficial because they have been selling and exporting natural gas, and they have been our supplier. So we want to make sure that we support one another, do our best to refrain from restricting exports to each other. I think this is something that's important as part and parcel of the overall energy security strategy for us.
Thank you, DPM. I'll now throw questions to the floor, open it up to the floor. Yes, over there. Number 7.
Good morning, sir. My name is Captain Ashok Batura. I am a proud veteran of Neptune Orient Lines, having served during the era when NOL produced leaders of the highest caliber for our nation, including our second Prime Minister, Mr. Goh Chok Tong. I am also the Honorary Consul General of the Republic of Malta for Singapore. Sir, in today's volatile global climate, we have seen how critical supply chain resilience is for our national security. Just as Singapore Airlines secures our skies, I believe there is a compelling strategic argument for Singapore to once again have a flagship presence on the oceans to guarantee our maritime sovereignty. My question, sir, does the government see a strategic path for a new national shipping line to enhance Singapore resilience? Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for your service to our Neptune Oriental line. And indeed, we have had a good company running for many, many years. And we continue to look forward to your contribution as honorary counsel. But I think in terms of a business, whether it's shipping business, we will have to then take a business outlook and see whether it makes sense for us to continue to operate and own the Neptune Oriental line. Although we no longer own the Neptune Oriental line, but we still have a Pacific international line. And I think the CEO is here. So I think what is important for us is to make sure that we will continue to have strong partnership and stakeholders, whether they're international shipping lines or our own shipping lines or regional shipping lines, because our ports cannot just be for our shipping lines alone. It must be a port for the region, a port for the world. And that is why our port of PSA operates ports all around the world, and we want to have partnership to establish strong partnerships with our stakeholders around the world. Because port alone, if you are alone, it doesn't work. You need to be connected to other ports, and that's why we need to have a partnership with our important and strategic partners. That's what we've been doing. I'm sure PRL will continue to work very hard for Singapore and for the rest of the world, and to continue to serve our various trading partners.
Thank you. Next question, please. Yes, another one over there.
Thank you, DPM, and very good morning. Kunal Nakra, representing Swire Shipping and also council member of the Singapore Shipping Association. My question to you, Minister, is with your hat as Deputy Prime Minister and the Minister for Trade, maritime transport is the global backbone. But what would be your key message to the governments around the world and institutions alike to keep maritime and seafarers at the center of policy making and not it becoming a reaction to some equation that we don't have control over? So how do we ensure the governments and international institutions keep maritime and seafarers at the center of policy making, not reacting to it when things go wrong? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. The speaker just nod. Thank you very much for that question. In fact, it is important for us to work with various fellow stakeholders, and IMO plays a very important role in bringing seafarers, shipping lines, and the whole entire maritime industry together, and to continue to work with the governments around the world to ensure safety and free passage for ships so that we can continue to trade freely with one another. But at the same time, we also have to be realistic because countries will have their national concerns, national interests, and some national security. And from time to time, they will have these issues take precedence for these countries, and they will introduce measures and rules that may not be favorable to a free passage and the growth of the maritime industry. And therefore, when that happens, it's incumbent on all of us who are like-minded, who believe strongly in a rules-based system, to stand up and to speak out so that we continue to push the boundary and to extend our connectivity to facilitate trade that will eventually benefit all countries. So I think this is something that's always work in progress, but even as we push hard for freedom of navigation and transit passage, there will always be pushbacks from time to time because of various considerations. It's an ongoing effort, and I think it's important for like-minded countries to come together, to share ideas, to share views, and that is why this Singapore Maritime Week is so important, that we bring people together, great minds together, to discuss the way forward. How do we continue to strengthen the maritime industry? How do we continue to ensure safety and freedom of navigation across the seas of the world? Thank you.
Thank you. Number 3.
Hello, good morning. I'm Captain Hari Subramaniam. I'm Chief Commercial Officer with Howden Group. More importantly, I'm Deputy Chairman of MPA Singapore's National Maritime Safety at Sea Council. I would like to ask specifically with this turmoil going on in the Middle East, how are we prioritizing seafarers and evacuation to make sure they're well taken care of, their well-being? I think even their families are going through this. I know Secretary General has already spoken on a lot, but from Singapore's perspective, how are we prioritizing that specifically to this? I'm going to sneak in one more question because I've got the mic. But given this commodities choke point with Strait of Hormuz, is this a trigger now to try and elaborate more on alternate fuels? Is this something that's going to take things to the next level and also speed up 2050? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I believe our MPA is working very hard to maintain contact with the ship owners and the operators to ensure the safety and security of our seafarers on board our ships. At the same time, we also been working very closely with the ports along the coast to also render support and assistance where necessary. So I think the safety and well-being of the seafarers and their family members are at the top of our mind, and we continue to work hard to ensure their safe return. So I think this is something that you can be assured that we are working very hard on. And your question as to whether this is a good trigger to accelerate our effort towards decarbonization and alternative fuel, I think we must always press on with the alternative, greener transition. And this is something that is important not just for ourselves, but of our children and many generations to come. Even if as we discuss, debate, and argue about climate change, the pace of climate change doesn't slow down to wait for us. It continues and it accelerates. So I think the earlier that we embark on this journey, the faster that we can undertake the transition, the better would be for us for the future. So I think I would continue to urge all the stakeholders to work together to explore alternative fuels, to explore how we can support the maritime industry on the transition to a greener future, more sustainable future. It's something that we will continue to work on.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Sorry, anybody? Number 7 over there.
Morning, DPM Gan. Thank you for your time speaking to us. And all the delegates from around the world, welcome to sunny Singapore. My name is Captain Venki. I represent LPG traders and ship owners. And my question is further to Captain Hari's question. The first question, is good for the seafarers being taken care of. What about the commodity in the vessels which are stuck? Do we have a diplomatic initiation made to in case the situation continues like this and there is no go and the vessels get stuck longer than necessary?
We will watch the development very carefully, but I think as our Foreign Minister Balakrishnan has mentioned, we cannot negotiate with Iran because the right of transit passage is a matter of right. And you can imagine if we negotiate and there's some agreement that we arrive at, there's some condition that Singapore must comply with in order to have that safe passage. And if we do that, that means we agree that the right of safe passage, of transit passage, has now become conditional. And it is not conditional. The right is protected under UNCLOS. And therefore, we cannot possibly enter into a negotiation and subject to... Thank you. Thank you. I hope I've made that clear because we are very concerned about the safety and also the cargo that we do want to try to get them out and to continue to ensure safe passage through the Straits of Hormuz. But it is important for us to continue to uphold the principle that it is a matter of right. It is not negotiable. Once you negotiate and subject yourself to conditions, once you break that condition, you lose that right, and it's no longer a right. And therefore, it's important for us to stay on course and sometimes you have to make a hard decision that this is a matter of principle, that we cannot negotiate something that is a matter of rights. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Number 3, please.
Good morning, DPM. My name is Shiroz. I'm CEO of Compute Maritime, a UK-based maritime AI company. I think it was great to see the major chunk of your speech was circulating around AI, and I must say you don't see that every day in maritime industry. So having said that, I think you made a very compelling case that AI must not only make maritime industry efficient, but also resilient. But my question is on the capital. I'm pretty sure you would agree that automotive and aerospace, they absorb a vast majority of the investment. And that leaves maritime industry critically underfunded. So the question is, what signal is Singapore sending to private capital and to international AI builders to make maritime AI more investable at scale?
Thank you very much. I think my answer to that is simply watch this space. I think Minister Jeffrey Xiao will be making announcements shortly. I don't know how soon it is, but shortly on our effort in the investing in AI, encouraging investors to come and do AI on the maritime industry. As I mentioned in my speech, connectivity is one of the key pillars of our AI strategy. I mentioned just now as well, there are 4 pillars. One of them is connectivity. And maritime services is one important component of that connectivity because shipping and port operation is very critical. And if you have time, spend a little bit of time visiting some of the booths outside. They are already showing OceanX, for example, how they make use of AI to address some of the solutions, some of the problem. You can also see robotics using AI to address some of the port operations. So I think there are a lot of opportunities in logistics, supply chain, port operations, shipping lines to adopt AI. But it also requires commitment and a bit of a daring spirit, because you are in AI business, you know some of the AIs work, some don't work. So you have to be able to discern what is a possible and potential proposition that AI may apply in a certain area. And we are quite serious about looking at real-life solutions using AI, and not just good to have companion, but it's something that we want to integrate in our business operations. So for the port, for example, the idea is to integrate AI into entire port operation end-to-end, so that it's more resilient, more efficient, and in fact, it will become a competitive advantage versus ports that do not have AI integrated into their system. I think in time to come, you'll find that those with the AI-based AI core as their business will become a lot more competitive. They are able to respond faster. They are able to be more flexible, more adaptable versus their competitors, they do not. If you take this disruption from Straits of Hormuz as an example, you can see that many supply chain maritime operations have to adjust themselves because things have changed. Some of the ships are stuck, some of the cargo are stuck, some of the raw material, feed material is stuck inside, and therefore you need to immediately look for alternative supplies, alternative shipping routes, and alternative ports to unload your cargo or to load your cargo. So all these changes have to be made very quickly, and operators that are able to respond fastest will get the business. So I think it's important for us to bear that in mind in time to come, especially in this fast-changing world, and crises happen from time to time, sometimes from day to day. It's important for us to be nimble, and AI will allow you to be flexible, resilient, as well as competitive. So I think it's something that we will need to recognize, and we hope that the investor community will also recognize that AI will be able to change the way we do business, even in the maritime industry.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, DPM. Number 1, please.
Yes, this one is, I'm Captain Jackie Chan. I'm the ex-NOL, and I have been in maritime headhunting or talent acquisition for 20 years. I'm asking on behalf of the NS, especially my son just finished NS. I'm asking on behalf of all the Singaporean and SPR, example like my son. When he was enlisted into NS, he was not given an option to choose to do Navy. Now we are talking about the Singaporean or PR, we have a lack of maritime talent. So my question to DPM Gan is, why not those people that Singaporean and SPR, whose family are in the maritime? And I've seen a lot, like I think just now the Captain Bastura. I think his family is all also in maritime. And I also have a lot of contacts or friends who's actually, the whole family is actually in maritime. So my question is the Singapore government is able to think of like work and studies, especially those people who are families in the maritime, maybe to have a chance to do in the Navy, and at the same time, maybe working with Mr. Teo of PIL or Ms. Yong from Kuok to actually integrate those NS people into the maritime industry. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very good suggestion. I'll feed that back to MINDEF, by the way. But I will have to say that in deploying NS men, MINDEF will have its own criteria and will consider many factors, including interest of the person, the background of the person, and the expertise the person may have in deploying them in the most effective way. But there are many considerations, I hope you understand. I will feed that back to MINDEF anyway. But not all is lost. After your son has finished his NS, when he comes out, we will be very happy to talk to him about joining the maritime industry. I'm sure whether Ms. Yong or Mr. Teo or even our acting minister will be very keen to talk to him, to persuade him to join the maritime industry. Indeed, we do want to attract many young and talented people to come into this industry, and we actually do quite a lot. I was being briefed just now on the many things that we are doing, including internship, scholarship, training grants, and conversion programs that we do want to encourage more Singaporeans to take up this job. It can be very exciting, it can be very refreshing, and you actually, if you do well, it can actually change the way we carry out maritime businesses. So I think you can change the business. So I would encourage Singaporeans to take this opportunity to come and take a look and come to this Maritime Week and have a taste of what maritime life is about. It may be something that you will enjoy, you find it's part of your lifestyle that you want. I think it's something that is worth exploring. So I encourage more Singaporeans to come and visit the Maritime Week. It's open to public, right? Yeah, all right, good. Let's just confirm it's open to public. Please come and visit the Maritime Week. Thank you.
Yeah, on behalf of ship owners, I think, and shipping companies, I think we can't have enough Singaporeans in this business, so definitely encourage them to join. Question 2, please.
Good morning, Deputy Prime Minister. My name is Andrew Noble. I work for a company called Andrew Australia. My question relates to the role and value of autonomy on and off ship in enabling humans to be safer and more productive beyond the military applications.
Sorry, what's the question?
Autonomy of ships beyond military applications. So
I apologise for my Australian accent. It's a bit jarring at 10:30 in the morning.
All right.
Self-driving ships. Your question is on self-driving, autonomous ships, right? So
You're asking about autonomous ships?
Yes, on and off ship, Deputy Prime Minister.
On and off ships. Can you explain what that is?
Can you please explain specifically what you want the DPM to
Certainly.
answer?
I've really got myself in a pickle now.
Don't worry.
My question relates, obviously, autonomous ships have a place in military applications. Do you see a place for autonomous ships as well as autonomous systems supporting ships in Singaporean society and maritime writ large?
Okay, thank you very much. So, now I understand the question. I think we are already exploring possibilities of autonomous vehicles in the water, and even hovercraft, for example, we are exploring and experimenting. I think there is room for autonomous ships and vehicles so that we can reduce the reliance of manpower. As we mentioned just now, there's a critical shortage of such manpower in Singapore, I'm sure around the world too. So I think autonomous ships and autonomous vehicle in the water is something that is we will be very keen, and we are actively looking at it. We already have quite a lot of autonomous vehicles on land at the port. If you visit our port, you'll find that many of our systems are already autonomous. But I take your point that I think there is room for us to explore whether some of the craft that we use in the harbour particularly can also become autonomous. I believe our agencies are doing research and development in that regard. And watch this space. We may be able to announce some of these experiments in time to come.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions? Okay, number 7, please.
Thank you, DPM Gan. My name is Akanksha Badurappa. I'm a second-generation SME leader for maritime services. But my question is a little bit cheeky today. So, we have always realized that there's a image problem for shipping, even though we are actually quite dynamic, energetic, and quite enjoyable as an industry. But may I please potentially propose for you to consider doing a Netflix series for us? Potentially a reality show or a drama series. We have a lot of charismatic people in the audience who can star in this show. So please take this suggestion, and I hope we can do something about this. It's a cheeky one, I agree, but it's still a good suggestion, I hope.
Thank you. I don't know about Netflix series, but I think it is worthwhile for us to work on some publicity and some education program so that people get a better understanding of what this industry is about. But it's also at the same time, we don't want to give the wrong impression that this is something that it is not. So we have to be quite truthful, because eventually the person has to work in this industry for his career. So it's important for us to be frank and truthful. I always thought that the best way to market this industry is really to allow our young people to have an opportunity to come and have a taste of what this is like, maybe give them a short stint on board. I was just discussing with some of the groups earlier on before the event, and one way is to have internship programs for some of our younger students to spend maybe 2 weeks, 1 month on board or even at the port, so they understand what the maritime industry is all about. Actually, it can be quite fascinating because you get to see different parts of the whole supply chain, the whole logistics, the whole shipping industry and maritime industry. So I think the best way for them to really understand what this is about, what the opportunities that are here, is to expose them to have opportunities to be able to get internship or work on board for a short period of time. And then they can make their own decision later on. I think this is the best way to have the accurate image of what the industry is about.
Thank you, DPM. I'll take one last question, please. Number 1, I think, was up earlier. Thank you.
Good morning, Deputy Prime Minister. I'm Gary Chen from Sindamer News. We know the current geopolitical conflicts in the Middle East has triggered the adjustment of the global trade route. My question is, Singapore as an international shipping center, how will Singapore help the shipping companies reduce the cost and time efficiency impacts caused by the route diversion through optimizing the port services and strengthening the regional cooperation? Thank you.
Thank you. I agree with you that the events in Straits of Hormuz in the Middle East has created a disruption to the global supply chain. This has resulted in sharp rise in energy costs and the cost of transport and shipping. And therefore, it's important for the shipping industry and the economy as a whole to be able to adjust very quickly to this new reality. And in time to come, when the crisis is over, prices may come down somewhat, but it's not likely to go back to the same level as before. And the reality is that this type of disruption will happen from time to time and will increasingly more frequent. And this is a reality that we have to accept. And therefore, our system must be retuned to be able to respond very quickly to such disruptions from time to time. And that is why I mentioned in my speech just now, one critical pathway we must focus on developing is to keep our system, our entire maritime ecosystem, to be nimble, to be flexible, to be adaptable. And this is the only way that we can respond to crises that happen from time to time. And we must do so not just because we have this crisis ahead of us, in front of us, but we must do so continuously, because the world is very competitive. Even without this disruption and crisis, the shipping industry, the maritime industry is a very competitive industry, and also the margins are always under threat. It's important for us to continue to be cost competitive, to be effective, to be efficient, to provide excellent service to our customers. But among all this, there is one factor that not many people talk about, and that is trust. And even with higher costs, it doesn't mean that you will get reliable services. So what is important to many of the operators, whether it's ship owners, shipping lines, port operators, or even your customers, businesses, what they value most in today's world is trust and reliability. I think if you look at how Singapore Port operates over the years, over the decades, even during the peak of crisis, we continue to ensure that our port operates efficiently and effectively so that we deliver whatever we promise. So I think this is something that is very critical, and we cannot undermine our confidence that our customers have, our stakeholders have in us. And this is something we need to continue to build, need to continue to strengthen and deepen the trust and confidence that our stakeholders have, our partners have in Singapore and our ecosystem.